I'm joined by Ray Mayers, who is an Olympian, three-time Olympian, four-time World Championship player and five-time World Cup player, captain Australia for 85 times between 93 and 96. Ray, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good, thank you. Ray, first off, you had a distinguished career with the Australian men's Sharks team, going to 3 Olympic Games. Is there one standout moment for you across those 3 Olympics?
The very last game that I played in Barcelona, where we beat Hungary in Olympic Games for the first time ever. So that is absolutely a standout for us. I mean, your first Olympic Games is always the most special because you're not sure what to expect, and you walk into the arena, and during the opening ceremony, there's 100,000 people screaming, and you got your parents in the stand. It's just a fantastic experience. But in Barcelona, when we wanted to do well, again, the rules have changed a bit since we've been playing. It was very much more cutthroat back then. It was only the first 2 from each group progressed to the semi-finals, where now they have the first 4, so they do a crossover. So it's much more cutthroat back in the day, and we come up against Hungary for the 5th place, which was and to beat them at Olympic Games, as I said, the first time we've ever done it.
And it was to date still the best result, joint best result, both those in Los Angeles in 84 and then also Barcelona in 92, finishing 5th at the Olympic Games with a sport that's dominated by Europeans. That must have been an amazing achievement. Yeah,
we're extremely satisfied. I mean, there are times when we felt a bit unlucky that we couldn't have pushed harder for a medal. Again, the draws tend to go against us a bit. So, but again, you can only play who's in front of you. So it's it's a great achievement, a very proud achievement. And coming up to Tokyo, I wish the boys, I hope they get a good result. They've had some great results over the last couple of years.
You mentioned the boys. Talk us through staying at the top of your game from 84 all the way through to 96, and obviously having that 5th place in 84 and then an 8th in Seoul and a 5th again in Barcelona. Talk us through how hard it is to maintain at the top of your game in a team sport.
I was very lucky. I came through what I call the golden era of water polo. I have a very, very strong swimming background. I began swimming when I was competitive swimming when I was 5 years old. So it was reasonably. Don't get me wrong. It was never easy. People only see us every 4 years on the TV. They don't see up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, training for 2 hours, and then sometimes training at lunchtime, and then also in the evening. It's a hard slog, 4 to 6 hours a day, but it's the most enjoyable time. You make lifelong friends as well. It's like I compare it. I don't want to begrudge anybody, but I say it's almost like going to war when you take on these international teams. Especially the Europeans, they're fully professional, and that's all they have to do. And when they come here, when we train against them early when here for a tournament, we can only get the pools at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, and they're all going, what? I mean, and luckily our boys are used to doing that. Again, from a lot of them are ex-swimmers or have done a lot of swimming training from a young age, so they've got that self-discipline to be able to do that.
And Ray, let's go back to the beginning. You mentioned 1981, where you made your debut in your first international tournament at the World Cup in Long Beach, California. What was that like?
Oh, that was so exciting. Very, very exciting. And we came up in our very first game, we came up against Russia, who are the current Olympic champions at the time. And unfortunately, Andrew Kerr, who was one of our best players of all time, he had an injury and couldn't play. So I got catapulted into the starting 7. And I'm there going, oh my God. And the very first player I actually marked in my international career was Alexander Karbanov, who unfortunately just passed away, but he was the captain of the Olympic gold medal winning team from Moscow. And he's the very first bloke so obviously a very seasoned player, and I was marking him, and I was shaking like a leaf. But what I did have, I suppose, was a lot of chutzpah, if you like, for want of a better term. So I thought, I'm just going to take him on, and I just swam him up and down, and he was, not happy, to say the least. So my youthful exuberance certainly held out there.
And did you ever believe that when you made that debut, marking Alex, one of the, if not the greatest water polo players of all time, did you think you would still be representing your country and captaining your country 15 years later?
No, everyone hopes for a long career, but just to get to one Olympic Games is, a fantastic achievement. Again, going back to my younger days of swimming, I used to train with Michael Wendon. Obviously, he was in the big pool and I was in the little pool. And when he won the gold medal in 1968, I sort of turned around to my mum and dad and said, "That's what I want to be. I want to be an Olympian." So I've had that drive and that goal for a long, long time. So it was good to achieve it.
And let's move forward now to 93 and achieving still jointly the best result ever at a World Cup by winning bronze medal at the World Cup in Athens. What was that like to captain the team coming off a successful Barcelona Olympic Games?
Well, that was an incredible experience. Again, we did a couple of firsts in that. Obviously, our first international medal at a World Cup. And we also beat Russia for the first time in the leading into the semi-finals. We had to beat Russia to progress to the semi-finals, and we beat them 4-3, I think it was.
And going back to those early days, you mentioned Andrew Kerr. You played alongside Andrew Kerr, the Peter Montgomerys, the Charlie Turners. What was it like playing alongside some of those legends of water polo in Australia?
Well, they're obviously the reason that I progressed so quickly in the sport. I always say that Peter Montgomery was my mentor, and he guided me very, very well around the pool and through life, and I'm very appreciative of that. And again, the golden era again, our state training, or even our club training, was like an Australian team. So again, we had Andrew Kerr, Charlie Turner, Bobby Bryant, Chris Wybrow, Randall Groff, Tony Falzon, Don Cameron in goals, Mickey Turner in goals. It was just like the who's who of Australian water polo. So you couldn't help but progress. I mean, I remember one day coming home, and Mum said, "How are you going?" I go, "I must be getting better. They're starting to kick me." So that was an indication I was obviously now becoming a little pest to them. So, I started training with the universities team in about 1979, and 2 years later I was in the national team. Now, granted, it was a new team because they tend to, after the Olympic Games, people retire, so they start to blood some young people. So there's myself, Richard Bengali, Russell Sherwell, Glenn Townsend, Martin Callaghan. I mean, although Martin played in the 80 Olympics, he was still considered a junior. He's still a couple of years younger than me, but he was a fantastic centre forward. So we all came through and we had great success.